Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade from the moment Caitlin Clark effect officially took over. People were already comparing Caitlin Clark to Michael Jordan. Not because of necessarily the way they played, but how they affect the game. Not only on the court, but off the court as well. The way that the WNBA has seemed to start to creep to mainstream status, the way the WNBA has been on these sports shows, the way people have been now paying attention to the WNBA, the new wave of fans that have come over strictly because of Caitlin Clark, the increase in attendance, the increase in viewership because of the Caitlin Clark effect. Many people were calling that Michael Jordan-esque. The second she stepped foot on a WNBA basketball court, people were calling Caitlin Clark the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. She will be the one that takes the WNBA to new heights, not only on the court, but off the court as well. And now, with the collective bargain agreement currently being opted out of by the WNBA Players Association, they need to renegotiate. They need to get some things ironed out that they would like, and the owners, I'm sure, would like to get some things ironed out that they would like. And this goes back to when Michael Jordan was playing in the game. Michael Jordan, from time to time, would use his weight, throw it around, be an active voice to make change within the collective bargaining agreement, be the one that when he walked in the room, NBA owners said, you know what? It's time to listen. This is the guy that makes us real money. This is the guy that puts the NBA on a completely next level. So with the collective bargaining agreement negotiations about to take place, how will Caitlin Clark impact the CBA negotiations for the WNBA? Will she be an impact, or will the spiteful, hateful leaders in the WNBA Players Association be too scared to swallow their pride and say, Caitlin, we need you in on this. We need you as a forefront. We need you as a top soldier. We need you to come in and use your influence to impact change. At every turn, Caitlin Clark has always spoken highly of the WNBA, whether it's the current players, whether it's the players that target her, whether it's the past players, whether it's the players like Cheryl Swoops that lie on her. Caitlin Clark has consistently always tried to uplift the WNBA at every single turn she gets, and through these collective bargaining agreements, she can be the one that says, all right, owners, these are some things that I need. Now, before we get into that, let's take a listen to this right here. This is ex-NBA Players Association lawyer that talked about some of the impact that Michael Jordan had when they were going through collective bargaining negotiations, as well as touching upon the amount of power that Caitlin Clark has at her disposal. And it really comes down to whether or not she will use that power to impact change. Let's take a listen, shall we?
We all know what a star MJ was, but I argue there might not be a player in history with more influence in CBA talks than Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I think some of it will be whether or not Caitlin takes a role in it, an active role in it. Michael it wasn't always heavily involved, but, when he did decide to get involved, it made a difference. It galvanized players. I think to some degree intimidated owners. So it really depends on how Caitlin decides decides not to wield her power. She certainly has a tremendous amount of power, with the fan base that she's, she has following her. So I think she certainly could be that person, but, we'll have to wait and see if she is that person.
Right, because Caitlin, right, has such a huge influence, right, on the growth this past year. And what if she's like, I'm not playing, I'm going to Unrivaled, right, the new startup league?
Yeah. I mean, that would be devastating to the WNBA if she used that sort of leverage. And I think that they would probably, do a lot to avoid that happening.
But you said that when MJ was in the room, it changed the tenor in the room, you would say, when he was involved.
Absolutely. Yeah, unlike anybody. I mean, we had a lot of influential players and a lot of players, made very meaningful contributions, but it was really hard it'd be really hard to say that anybody had more of an impact than Michael did at the meetings that he was at.
And that is the question right there. How much impact will Caitlin Clark have it? That gentleman pointed out it's whether she'll decide to wield her power, whether she'll decide to use her power in the room, whether she'll decide to use her power when talking to owners, when trying to get certain benefits. I think the question is, will they let her use her power, or will all the hateful, spiteful people within the WNBA Players Association, will they all say, nah, Rook, we got this? Will they all say, nah, Caitlin, thank you, but no thank you. Nah, we got it from here. Nah. What do you know about business? What do any of these women in the WNBA Players Association know about business? Who knows more about business within that association than Caitlin Clark? And I'm not talking about when it comes to a piece of measly paper. I'm talking about business when it comes to how do I actually move correctly? How do I get the best deal that I could possibly get? How do I not completely tarnish my social image? How do I handle myself on the court? How do I handle myself off the court? And how do all of those actions set me up for bigger success in the future, for sponsorships to look at me differently in the future, for owners to look at me in a certain light, like this is a player that we can invest in? How do those actions translate to the fans and have the fan base say, man, Caitlin Clark, she really is MJ of this whole thing. She really is somebody that our children can look up to. She really is a solid role model. Caitlin Clark has all the power in the world. She will decide to use it, but will the WNBA Players Association allow her to use it? That is the biggest question, right? She has her voice in a positive way. She can use it to throw around many of ways, right? Is she going to use it in the delusional way that the WNBA Players Association might want her? Hey, Caitlin, can you come in here on these talks with these $1 million salary talks? That's not going to happen, right? We need to start thinking about reality. Right? We need to start thinking, hey, if I don't get $1 million, I'm not playing. Why would Caitlin Clark have a stance like that? Why would Caitlin Clark have a stance like that when she's going to be getting paid X amount of dollars off the court? That is not the hill to die on. And through negotiations, hopefully the WNBA Players Association realize that's not the hill to die on. Some things that she can actually throw her weight around in: percentage of jersey sales. You sell my jersey, we want money from it. No more of winner take all. No more of that. You sell some of our jerseys, we want percentages of jersey sales. That needs to change. That's something Caitlin Clark can come in, throw her weight around. What she went through during the season, making it more tolerable and accepting of the league. Why is Caitlin Clark getting targeted, getting trashed as soon as he comes in the league? Maybe we can, go through some type of training, some type of collective realization that this wasn't okay. So when players coming in after me come in as a rookie, as a sophomore, they're not getting hazed from the second they step on the court. Maybe that's something Caitlin Clark can throw her weight around. Use her off-court experiences to influence how these women move. Chartered flights, folks. WNBA wasn't serious about chartered flights until Caitlin Clark came to town. And that footage of her walking through Newark International Airport saying, excuse me, to the homeless man lying down in Terminal C. I didn't see you there, bud. Once that footage came out, boom, just like that, WNBA responded. High-end Coach Butches, I know you guys are rolling around on school buses. I know we're rolling around on the Magic School Bus, going from one place to one place, singing to Miss Frizzle. Miss Frizzle, Miss Frizzle, can you take me away? Miss Frizzle, our next game's in LA. I know that's how these players are getting around, but Caitlin Clark can use her weight. Hey, we need high-end amenities when we're traveling, when we're warming up. Saunas, this, that, and the third, things to work on her body. Those are some things that Caitlin Clark might be able to throw her weight around with. But this $1 million salary, that is a dying battle. And if that's the battle the WNBA wants to die on, if that's the hill the WNBA wants to die on, then we are in for a lockout. Folks, I did a little bit of digging. This is a headline from 1998. 1998, New York Times. Basketball, it's their ball, and NBA owners call for a lockout. Why is this interesting? Well, let's take a look. We think the potential revenue generation capacity in the NBA is healthy, Stern said. It's the system that doesn't work. Here we are, folks. We can't afford to affect play this season under the current system. There are a number of clubs that will do better not operating than operating. That's something the players don't seem to understand. There are a number of clubs that will do better not operating than operating. That's something the players don't seem to understand. If the WNBA Players Association think that getting multi-players on their team, $1 million deals, getting even a single player on their team, $1 million deals, would be beneficial to the league, they are already losing money. To going to this point, there are a number of clubs that will do better not operating than operating. It's all very difficult and great concern to us, the NBA Deputy Commissioner Russ Granick said. This was back in 1998, folks, remember. But at some point, you have to deal with the lesser of two evils. You've got an economic system that's just plain bad, and it results in the league being unprofitable. They're already paying these players too much money in the W. The league is already unprofitable. Not only are the owners funding the NBA, but they're funding the WNBA too. Now they're getting help out with media deals, this, that, and the third, but you guys understand. You guys are following along. You can't keep operating under that system in order to make sure you don't upset fans or business partners. That's just a prescription for total failure. If they keep paying these NBA players absorbent amount of monies like they were in 1998, 1997, then it will occur in utter failure. Why? What was the big holdup? The two sides began negotiating. After 9 sessions, talks broke off. The players insisted that the bird exemption be kept and that the owners negotiate off their proposals, called a halt to the meeting after 30 minutes. We'll talk about that momentarily. Now, a proposal from the owners on May 27th included a hard cap, the elimination of the Larry Bird exception, and a 5-year rookie wage scale with first rights of refusal. The offer also proposed that no player could earn over 30% of a team's total salary cap, capping individual players at around $10 million per season. Real quick, since we're on it, the bird exemption, the bird exception. This was a loophole in the old collective bargaining agreement that allowed teams to exceed their salary cap if that meant they were A, matching another team's offer, or B, just giving the player a new contract. And players took advantages of this. Agents took advantages of this. Most noticeably, Michael Jordan, when he got his $30 million deal. Most noticeably, Kevin Garnett, when he got his $126 million deal. The owners were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is too much of our salary cap, to a point where in the old CBA, they put an opt-out clause in for themselves. If the salary cap exceeds X amount of percentage, then guess what? We're opting out. Then guess what? We have an opt-out clause. And after paying these players all that much money without seeing X amount of dollars come in, they decided to lock the players out until they got some things ironed out. What did all of this result in, folks? The longest lockout in NBA history. The work stoppage was a disaster. With volatile personalities at the forefront and backbiting among players, owners, and agents, the 1998-1999 NBA lockout spanned 204 days and resulted in the loss of about $500 million in total player salaries and more than $1 billion overall. Fan interest crumbled. Reputations were damaged. Folks, the Players Association needs to look out for all of the players in the union, not just 5 high-paid players, not just 7 high-profile players. They need to look at all the players that were making $60,000, $70,000, $55,000 on the low minimum wage scale. So if they want to lock out, those players might not actually be able to afford to live where they are currently living. Because I'm assuming if there's a WNBA lockout, all the housing that the WNBA is providing for these players goes out the way as well. So that might be another expense these players need to look at. But players who aren't okay, players who would be okay would be players who already have major deals lined up, right? This is an article from The Ringer where they were interviewing many players, right? Vince Carter said, during this time, I had my Puma deal. I was living mostly off the advance and sneaker money, right? That's Vince Carter with his deal. Caitlin Clark has her deal. Angel Reese has her deal. Wilson has her deal. Some of these high-profile players already had their deal, so they'll be okay, quote-unquote, given a lockout. Their public perception might diminish, right? The way that the people view the WNBA, that might diminish as well. But when it comes to financially, Caitlin Clark is going to be good with a lockout or without a lockout. The rest of the players, probably players 6 through 12 on the rest of these teams, maybe even 3 through 12 on the rest of these teams, they need to play. Or they're going to have to take their talents elsewhere overseas. One more other thing that I did miss, talking about Michael Jordan. This is a player talking about Michael Jordan and how owners seem to perk up a little bit more when he was in the building. Upon becoming executive director of the Players Association, Hunter says, Billy Hunter, who was the NBA PA president at the time, Hunter says that he asked Jordan to run for union president. Jordan declined, but he was a productive presence at the negotiating table. Quote, I think nobody went out of their way to help the league more than Michael Jordan, Jim McIlvaine says. He was such a meal ticket for everybody that all the owners perked up when he showed up. Suddenly, they were ready to talk and negotiate. Jimmy Iovine, about a 7-8 year pro, averaged 12, 13 minutes a game. So it's not like he was a slouch, but he was in those rooms when Michael Jordan decided to throw his weight around, when Michael Jordan decided to talk, when he decided to appear. He noticed the owners perked up. The owner shaped up. Is Caitlin Clark going to have that same effect? I think she will. I know she will. But the question is, will the WNBA Players Association allow her to do that? Will they swallow their pride and really bring Clark in as a main ally? Right? Are they willing to show the owners and the league they're ready to get behind Clark as the face and future of this league? Will they stop downplaying, stop being delusional, stop targeting, stop poking her in the eye? Stop putting down the number one player. It doesn't make the league look good. If you guys are constantly telling us how bad the number one player, then the most known player, the player that the casuals know the most, the players that the fans identify with the most, if you keep saying that that player is the worst in the league, then what does that say about the rest of y'all? If she's the worst, if she's so bad and everybody already has it in their mind that everybody else is worse than her, what does that say about all of you guys? Not too much. You guys need to understand that when Caitlin eats, the league eats as well. So not only do the WNBA players need Caitlin Clark for this new unrivaled league that they have floating around, but they have bigger fishes to fry. They need Caitlin Clark to be in those rooms. They need Caitlin Clark to use her influence when it comes to negotiating a new CBA. Don't make her use her voice for some delusional type of request. Like, oh, let's bring Caitlin Clark in on these $1 million salary talk. No. Use her where she can actually be utilized. Percentage of jersey sales. How you guys move. Ticket sales. Remember, Caitlin Clark wanted to get kickbacks to the away team. When Caitlin Clark came to ATL, she went up to the Indiana Fever president and said, hey, is there any way we can break off the Atlanta Dream a piece of this pie? They've never seen a crowd like this. They've never had a game sell like this. Is there any way they can get a piece of this money? That's what Caitlin Clark wants to do. That's how she wants to affect change. She's living in the real world, not the delusional world that so many WNBA players are living in. This is the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. I appreciate all of the support. Caitlin Clark and Michael Jordan, many similarities on how they made their independent leagues rise off the court, but how will they use their influence to inspire change as well? Appreciate all the support. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, take it easy.